everybody. Dr. Howard Cohn here at the Cohn Health Institute, and welcome to this segment of the Go Beyond Summit. We're excited about this part. We are with our good friend, Dr. Nicole Krakora, naturopathic doctor, and just a phenom in the field of athletic and human performance, not just for the high-level athlete, which she's become well known for, but also that weekend warrior who's just looking to do better in that game with their friends, or run a little faster, or just hurt a little less when they're doing it. So, and we have our good friend Heidi, who is a patient of Dr. Krakora's and an athlete herself with a tremendous history in the as a triathlete and as a marathoner, and now what she's doing now she's going to share. And she's this kind of a lifestyle, as you know, brings you to see these kinds of practitioners, not just to go beyond, but to continue to operate at this high level. So, Dr. Krakora, thanks for being here.
Thank you for having me.
We are looking forward to finding out all about what you do and how unique it is. There's some things that you do that many of our viewers might have heard about, but it's the unique combination and the system that you do, which has gotten people very excited. And Heidi, thanks for being here. What's your story? What brought you into Dr. Krakora, and what's been your experience so far?
Well, I am an athlete actually, and I am performance focused. I want to get good results, and I was actually noticing that my stomach was hurting every night, and I have a very good diet, so very strict, and I'm thinking, why is my stomach hurting every night all the time? So I ended up getting a referral somehow to Dr. Krakora, the Cohn Institute. And I came in, and then after just the one session, I got some products, and then that night my stomach I wasn't just doubled over, and then the next day I could literally feel like my energy had come up, and it was just not bloated and just so painful as it normally had been. So I noticed results immediately. And then we started doing the allergy testing with all the food, and it turns out I'm sensitive to so many things that I love, my favorite foods.
Yeah.
I mean, I was like doing the kombucha thinking that the probiotics were good for me. I'm really sensitive to yeast, and so that was just setting me off. And then the nuts and everything, I'll go saving the long story, but I'm on the right path, and just knowing that I have somebody who's listening to me that is listening to my body and doing just those little teeny tiny shifts will make a huge difference in my daily life and in my performance as an athlete.
So that's awesome. So tell me, Doc, what did you do here? Like, I know you're going to walk us through a little bit about the process, and Heidi's going to be our demo for that. And we're going to kind of reenact some of this. But just like, what did you do, and how did you start here?
Well, I think Heidi comes in with such a common issue of people, especially in Orange County, who really think they've got it together in terms of what they're eating. You know,
Right.
It's like, I'm gluten-free, dairy-free, I'm free of everything, but yet still having these, stomach pains or, whatever the issue might be. It's different for everyone. So for Heidi, it was really, all right, let's dive right into this allergy work called NAET, developed by Dr. Natropathic, and find out which of these very common foods like vitamin C, vitamin B, all these different things that were actually setting her off. And like Heidi mentioned, she's also very, she's results driven, she's performance driven. And so one of the things that we did on her was Bioprint, which is just a phenomenal tool developed by Charles Poliquin. And he actually developed it working with professional hockey players. So right away, talking about the athletic population, he found it to be a non-invasive method of basically finding out a hormonal profile, finding out which areas of the body were keeping people back from reaching their optimal performance levels. So without being invasive, and that was the great thing, and it was matching up with all of these lab results. So for Heidi, it was perfect. We went through, we did the 14 sites on the body, which I'll show you a couple of them.
Okay.
And looking at each site and what it stood for, we're able to get a really good base for Heidi in terms of body fat percentage, but more importantly, which area is keeping her from reaching her best self.
So Bioprint is not like getting that caliber tested at my gym and
Right.
tell me where I'm fat, like I don't know. But it's telling us a lot more about the depth of not just where our body's not functioning at a level it is, but also strategies of things that we should be looking at to go beyond and go to the next level. And I know that you correlate other things. So can you just walk us through the bioprint process?
Absolutely.
A lot of our viewers are not necessarily familiar with it. I know I wasn't in the beginning. I kind of vaguely heard of it. I've heard good things, but to see the changes that happen with people and you helping them break through is kind of cool. So yeah, show us.
Absolutely. So first of all, there are these fabulous, scary-looking, torturing calipers that are extremely accurate. They're not the plastic ones that you used in high school. And again, we do 14 different sites on the body, put it into a computer system that kind of generates what's out of range for her. So not somebody who's her same height, her same weight, but really for her body. So I'll show you a couple of the sites. So Heidi, if you stand up for me. So one of the sites that we do on most people that's pretty fascinating, I'm going to have you face that direction and then put this hand on your hip, is the subscap reading, so right underneath the shoulder blade. And when we do this reading, now hers is amazing, it's a 5.6, congratulations Heidi, manage your blood sugar quite well. But this is a genetic actually reading that tells us how well somebody manages their blood sugar. If we can get them below a 10, we know that things that they're eating, they're managing pretty well insulin-wise, so another hormone that we look at. Heidi, I'm gonna have you stay right there. This reading is on the tricep, and this one is a 14.2, so we could probably get a leaner, Heidi's extremely lean, as you can see, but this is one of the readings that actually came up for her, and this is a way of managing the DHEA and testosterone. What that means is how strong and fast, and all the athletes are wanting to optimize their testosterone, and when athletes get stressed, when athletes are overworked or too tired, those numbers start dropping. So what other ways can we find out how to measure and track that for them?
And you can make real changes here. A lot of people go, oh, that's my arms, and my grandma had those arms.
Right.
This is my thighs, and that's my dad had this. But it's not always that case, is it?
No, absolutely not. And the readings can change week to week, which is fantastic. Just with little tweaks with different herbs, and we'll walk into that in a second.
Cool. Very cool.
But yeah, we can do weekly weekly progress checks to find out how these things are moving and if we're on the right track. And athletes and general population executives, they're all about progress and tracking, and lets me make sure those numbers are going the right direction. The last reading I'm going to show you is, I'm going to have you go on your stomach for me, sweetie. And that is the hamstring reading. And this is actually an area that Heidi herself, it's right here on the hamstring, and then of course we minus the hands. And this reading is all about toxicity. You can sit up. And the toxicity reading is actually one of the things we were working on with Heidi. So she's like, yes. So in terms of toxicity, the hamstring and the legs, they tend to stand for estrogens, and not the estrogens that we think of as great in the body, but things that we're taking in from our environment that are storing that way. And then we know that the liver and the gallbladder and some of these other organs are going to be struggling. So it's just another way of finding out how we can eliminate those factors, help those organ systems, so that she can get even more shredded and ready for her next race.
I love it. I love it. And obviously you said there's 14.
Right.
So there's a lot of different ones.
A lot of different ones. We won't do all 14 sites right now, but every single one stands for something else. And when we plug them into the system, she's a very lean 15.6% body fat, so that's excellent. But still, for Heidi, she wants to get a little bit lower. And also, the profile that came up for her matched exactly what she had been talking about, which was these leg readings. And, looking at toxicity is one of the first things that we're going to start to improve on her.
I love it. Before we jump off bioprint and go on to, let's say, what we would do next.
Sure.
Let's say I'm a 275-pound, football player, watching this, wondering, I wonder how that would help me with my game. With that kind of individual, what are some of the things you would see there that you wouldn't see in a Heidi that you would be totally looking for?
Sure. So, this, like I said, this program was developed for hockey players, and we had since been using it on a ton of NFL players when I was back in Chicago and here, and it's one of those things where they're still looking for that edge. They're still looking for that higher amount of energy, that better night of sleep, that whatever gives them the more explosive power. And all of that, it's great then to know the body fat percentage, but more so let's look at, the knee as a growth hormone site, and it also looks at sleep. So if that football player's knee is one of the first readings, or let's say the recovery profile shows up, that's their first out of range for them, we know that in order for this football player to improve his game, he has to recover. He's got to recover better from his workouts, better from his sleep, better from all of those things. And that's something that we can find from doing the bioprint that doesn't necessarily have to be improving body fat percentage.
It's beautiful. It's
Yeah.
beautiful. Give me a story. I know that it's one that just comes to mind. I don't put you on the spot. We've seen a lot of people though. So give me somebody where you didn't do anything other than the bioprint with
Yeah.
it, and you found something, made a recommendation off it, and it really changed their game.
Sure, absolutely. Back in Chicago, I had to talk about an athlete, a phenomenal athlete, top personal trainer, Michigan Avenue, downtown Chicago, and he was also a nail bender. That's a big sport, by the way. So he,
Wow.
And he was strong as all get out and lean. I mean, he was, 15% body fat. And we did bioprint on him, and all of his stuff came up around blood sugar and inflammation. It was just tons of inflammation. And he had a lot of actually the same similar problems. His stomach hurt a lot. And so we did bioprint on him every single week, 12-week program.
Wow.
Made little tweaks based off where the numbers were going. He shredded from 15.8% to 5.8%. I mean, a solid 10%
Wow.
in 12 weeks, and never felt better. And so now how that shifts to his nail bending is that he felt better to train more. I mean, he didn't wake up and have to struggle to get out of bed. I mean, it was all aspects of his life. And it was a combination of just, and I know we're gonna talk about emotional work and allergy, but this was none of that. This was just changing some food, implementing some solid supplements that tested for him, and it was perfect. It was awesome.
I love it.
Yeah.
I know that a lot of people are watching right now going, how do I get in to see her right now? You don't need to talk to me about anything else. And I'm thinking, when am I going to get my appointment? So very cool, very cool. So Dr. Krakora, walk us through what happens next. I mean, there's a lot of things that we talked about that you do. So what's one of the things that you would do next with Heidi?
Sure, absolutely. So Heidi needs the muscle test, which she has grown to love by bringing all of her groceries in to get tested. And so like we were talking about before, the toxicity profile came up, and the big thing was hamstring and toxicity. So I'm going to have you actually hold your hamstring underneath. So that weakens her system. I use something called CRA just to sort of give a rating at what it's at. So it's at a 1, 2, 3, 4, it's at a 5 out of a 10. We like everything to be nice, clean numbers, 10s out of 10s. So I'm just going to see what organs this is related to. So we have a change of the liver, so we know the liver is involved, and the gallbladder, and her stomach, ironically. Adrenals, not the spleen. So we can kind of go through, and I just sort of see all the different organs that it blows out, so I just have an idea of how big of an issue this is for her. And then I'm going to find out emotionally, and I think we're going to talk a little bit about NET, neuro-emotional technique, finding out if there's an emotional component to her issue. And emotionally, out of a 10, she's at a 1, 2, she's at a 3 out of a 10. So we know that they might have some stuff to go into on that. Chemically, so we find out, toxicity is often a chemical issue. We can't have emotional toxicity, but oftentimes there's things in the air, we're eating the wrong foods, even though we think they're healthy. We might be deficient in something. We want to see chemically what she's at, and she's at a 1, 2, she's also at a 3 out of 10. Structurally, is there anything structurally going on with this issue? It's at a 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, 9, 10. Okay, so we know structurally we don't really need to address that. So that's a good starting point for her. I'll switch arms.
So Heidi's a veteran.
Yeah.
And the people watching may not be veterans, although they might have watched some of the other speakers and got a sense from the handful that did functional muscle testing as a diagnostic tool, which is what you're doing, and it has different names like CRA or AK or TPM.
Sure.
Just kind of, what are you doing here?
Sure, absolutely. So the muscle test is just a way of communicating with her nervous system.
Okay.
It's just a simple way of finding out, going over certain reflex spots, we're able to find out which organs or which systems, like you said, many different systems, just to find out a good baseline and where we want to start, the priority. So we know from bioprint the priority is toxicity. But now when we move actually into her system, there could be 10 different patients that come in with a toxicity issue. But how does Heidi's body want to solve toxicity?
So you're trying to locate where that toxicity
Exactly,
is.
where it is and how Heidi wants it to be treated. So Heidi's body wants it to be treated both emotionally and chemically. So we've been working now for some time on the allergy stuff, right?
Mm-hmm.
So Heidi came in thinking she was eating all the right foods. They weren't working out. Actually, why don't you tell them the coconut story? That would be a good one.
Okay, so I am really into nutrition, and I found, okay, coconut, ginger, lemon, and kombucha are the best things for my gut, my probiotics for my gut. So I focused on coconut, everything coconut I was eating. I was baking with it, putting it on my body, putting it in my body, anything coconut I was having, okay? Well, that was completely wrong for me. Kombucha, all the foods that I think are so good. Lettuce, who's allergic to lettuce? I am. So the foods that I thought were helping me, were healing me, were not helping me at all. It was just a disaster in my stomach area. So I'm so happy for this. And I'm really skeptical about the emotional component, because whenever she goes, oh, there's an emotional component, and I'm like, oh, of course there is, oh great. Mm-hmm. And it just seems that it does work, even though it's airy-fairy and bizarre. It's all part of the system, so I trust you.
Oh, that's great. And the food stuff she mentioned too. So, some people when they come in, like you said, a little skeptical, and they want to see, okay, before we go all this allergy work called NAET, we want to do a blood test to find out exactly which things are off. And so we did what's called an IgG panel, which is a not the type of allergy like an anaphylaxis, but more like a dormant allergy that you wouldn't suspect. Just like Heidi said, she wouldn't suspect the coconut and the ginger, and a lot of those foods are what came up. So that's kind of our indication of different systems we need to start in.
And crazy things that affect my performance as an athlete, like cinnamon and black pepper and bay leaves and basil. Those delicious herbs were all hindering me from getting the results that I really wanted.
Right. So let's actually show just a brief NAET demo.
Sure. So before this is breakthrough stuff, because a lot of people don't know. If they have been allergy tested, it's only because they had a sniffle or something, and they might have had like a scratch test or a traditional test and maybe gotten a lot of false negatives, maybe some false positives, and you talk about an IgG test, and even then that tells you what's going on that day in the blood, but also to be able to find out real-time kinesiologically what's affecting somebody and then to show them how it's hindering their performance. This is big stuff. People are not getting this done. There are athletes out there that are allergic to things that they're doing really good, but they could be unbelievable.
Absolutely. Well, if you think of all the coconut rehydration, rehydration drinks now, it's like, oh, I just finished a killer workout, I'm gonna go slam some coconut water, which for some people would be great.
Right.
For Heidi, not so great. So it's a really great way of looking at that, and And so one of the things, let's see what we have over here. So nuts. So nuts are something people try to avoid milk these days, and we're like, oh, let's do some almond milk, or let's have some almond butter, or a handful of walnuts for breakfast, or whatever. So if we put a vial that says nut mix, which is a homeopathic preparation of all these different types of nuts, right? So it's a lot easier than putting a jar of almond butter on her and a whole thing of walnuts. Let's just give her a vial. It's much easier, and her arm just goes weak right away. So just really try and resist me. Right. And then we check it on all the different levels that it might be affecting her. So we check it on a structural level, it's affecting her, an emotional level, and a chemical level. So we know, okay, it would be really great for Heidi for her to not be allergic to nuts anymore. And we can find out the emotional issue as well as finding that out. Would we like to find that out today?
Oh, we can.
Okay, let's do it. Heidi's like, all right.
I'll go for it.
So what we do when we find out on the emotional level is we're just going to find an emotion that she was feeling at some point in her life. Most of the time it's when she was eating something with nuts. So for her, it's in this kidney. And if we checked all the different emotions that Chinese medicine made correlations for 5,000 years ago, in the kidney, we're going to check the concept of fear. Oh, first one. So some sort of fear. And we're going to check which age. Is it age 0 to 10? Is it age 10 to 20? Is it age 10 to 15? Age 15 to 20? Age 15, 16? Age 16? So Miss Heidi, this is your emotion. I'm going to have you go back to age 16. And there was something going on, maybe there was some fear.
I was driving back and forth to school, and it was like 45 minutes each way, and I was fearful.
Oh, perfect.
First thing that came up.
Yeah, and that's what it usually is. It's usually the first thing, if we can get our brain out of the way, it's usually some sort of memory that comes up, and that's it. And if we go here, perfect. So the way that we clear things with NAET is we actually get to use the KST gun, which is a little bit nicer, and you also get a little bit of a massage. But the idea is to hit all those meridians up and down. So we'll just run through that. So I'm going to have you go face down, and I'm going to have you put the vial on your forehead. Try not to destroy the plant. And I'm just going to have you go back to 16 years old and just think about driving and commuting, and probably were eating some nuts at that time. And the interesting part about the subconscious brain is that when she eats nuts now, it's subconsciously evoking a fear response in her body. So even if that might seem a little strange, it is that whole idea that the subconscious runs 98% of us, and we always can't put a finger on it. I'm gonna have you relax this hand down. I'm gonna have you take a big deep breath in, and all the way out, and panting, so quick breathing, and relax your breath. All right, go ahead and sit up. And the different breathing is just invoking different parts of the nervous system. The fast breathing.
The Arthur Stim gun, it's like a little jackhammer.
It's like a little jackhammer, yeah.
Right.
Not at all. The kids call it the tickle gun.
Right.
And so it's definitely one of those nice little, it almost feels like a nice little massage, right?
I wish it were heavier.
Yeah. So now she's holding this nut vial. We go back, super strong. I can hang off Heidi's arm. We check it on all 3 levels, and it's strong on all 3 levels. So it's a really quick and easy correction. And after 25 hours of avoiding the nuts, then Heidi can go back to eating them, and she's going to have a lot less issues. So that's fantastic.
That is fantastic.
Yeah. And then the other part of it, so that's a chemical component of what's going on. Again, that ties all the way back to this priority, which was the hamstring and toxicity. And the other things that we can do are now move forward, and whether it be IV therapy or whether it be finding some nutrition or some supplements to help out with Heidi's toxicity issue.
So what kind of stuff would you do with Heidi, or someone with Heidi in her situation if she's, well, with Heidi, she's done marathons, she's done triathlons, she's in this extreme human performance sector with others. What would happen walk us through the IV edge? Because a lot of people, they think when they see a needle or shots, or they think it's someone sick, or they don't know about this whole wealth of human performance, or they think the opposite, they think steroids or things that are going to make somebody show. But there are things that are natural, that are healthy, that'll help speed recovery, improve performance, 100% legal. They're not crazy substances that are going to get you on the news. Walk us through that whole process. What would a Heidi or someone in her world look to do?
Yeah, absolutely. So for Heidi, I mean, IV therapy is perfect for Heidi because she came in with all these gastrointestinal problems and stomach pain. Mm-hmm. And so sometimes then when we have people who have stomach pain or gastrointestinal issues with it, which is a really large percentage of the population, they're spending all this money on supplements. I mean, tons of money on supplements, vitamin C, all these amino acids to help rebuild muscle and help after, post-workout. And if your stomach is upset, it's not breaking things down, you're not absorbing most of those nutrients. So IV therapy is 100% absorption. I mean, we use the muscle test, just, the same thing we've been using for everything else, and we just test to see what nutrients would be best for Heidi. And then we make our own little custom concoctions here, full of vitamin C, selenium, different amino acids that are going to help repair and help build muscle, collagen, all of those great things. And then they get to hang out in our lovely IV lounge and just relax while they just go straight into the bloodstream. So there's no need to stress the digestive system at that point. And oral supplementation by mouth, I mean, it's great, it's fantastic to still do day by day, but we're talking about athletes that are, breaking down their system every day. I mean, it's one of the things that the football players I've been working with absolutely love. I mean, their workouts in season are intense, and gearing up towards the season are intense. Their bodies are run down. So one, it's extremely relaxing for them just to hang out there and chill for a little bit, but two, it helps improve their sleep. It helps improve their energy. They don't feel as run down after their workouts. I mean, these are all things that simply can just go into the bloodstream without having to always remember to take these pills and all of that.
That's beautiful. That's awesome. So let me ask you this. So I think in the beginning when we introduced you, you're an ND, which is a naturopath. And I don't know if everybody knows what that is. I mean, it sounds awesome, but what is a naturopath and what do they do different than an MD or a chiro or something like that?
Sure. It's funny to say that naturopaths are kind of new on the scene because it's such old medicine. Yeah, it just was sort of went into hiding for a little bit, but it's using all of the basic things to heal your body. And it's all the different things that have been around for thousands of years. So, ideally we try not to prescribe medication. We just try to remove the roadblocks so the body can heal itself. Our number one, we have 7 principles. I won't labor with all of them, but the first couple are to do no harm, and the doctor means docere, and is to teach. So a lot of it is educating the patients, and it's making sure they know how to take care of their body and what their body wants. And so a lot of it is trying to use non-invasive methods to help somebody use their own healing ability for their own body. And in the state of California, naturopaths can do some really great things in our scope of practice. And we do a lot of intravenous therapy here. We do a lot of injections. If someone doesn't have time to sit, for an hour and have some, nutrients drip in, then we can just do a simple injection in the butt and just full of different nutrients, B12 shots, vitamin D, skinny shots are very popular in Orange County.
Yes,
but even for the wrestlers who are trying to make weight, doing those skinny shots have helped them dramatically. And so it's whatever way we can get nutrients into the body, help them achieve results faster without using really invasive methods with a lot of side effects. That's what we try and do.
Awesome. I know that naturopathy is very popular among parents for their children. And I know that in this office, I don't know if you can see it on the camera, there's a little kids corner, got some toys here, and so you see a lot of kids. And so for the people out there who have kids, and as we know, a lot of things were coming in today were things that were growing when we were younger and no one ever looked. And a lot of the techniques you do are able to find these things and ferret out these things very young. And kids love coming to see you and getting this kind of stuff done. Can you talk a little about parents, and not just in kid athletes too? These kids with concussions, kids that have things happen and want to do better in their teams or in their individual sports.
Absolutely. Well, yeah, we see a lot of kids. I saw a 6-year-old this morning who had a big fever and was super warm, and the moms simply just don't want to keep throwing antibiotics at the kids. And so it's just coming in and finding out and using the muscle test. A lot of times we use the parents because kids are, especially the 6-year-old's not feeling very great. She doesn't want to throw her arm up there, so we can, test through the parents. And it's just finding different, whether it be homeopathy or a nutrient or an herb, something that's safe and effective for the kids so they can heal without having to put prescription medication, and sometimes it's necessary, and we prescribe. But at the times when it's not necessary, let's not take that jump. I mean, sometimes it's just a probiotic. Simply we need to restore some of the child's own good bacteria, which happens a lot. And then like all the kids have, we do a lot of sports physicals here, which is so fun. And sometimes it's even just doing a little emotional session on that high schooler so that they feel confident in pitching for the baseball game at school. I mean, that happens a lot. or if every time they go to make that throw, something's a little off. It's finding out how to help them be more confident in that. Maybe it's helping them structurally, but there's a lot of things we can do with kid athletes just to clear, like for Heidi, something went back to when she was 16 years old. How nice would it have been to have cleared that when you were 16 instead of having to improve for all these years? So that's kind of a little example.
Beautiful, beautiful. I know a lot of moms watching, a lot of parents are going to be bringing their kids by. So I know we're at the Cohn Health Institute, which is right on the runway of the John Wayne Airport in Orange County. So people fly in, they drive in, they come from all over. How do people find you? If they want to contact you, how do they reach out to you?
Yeah, so I mean, at the Cohn Health Institute, we're pretty easy to find, like you said, right by the airport. People come to our Wednesday night health class a lot for information. We feed you dinner, we answer all your health questions. It's a really easy time to come and find out what we can do here to help you and make your appointment at that time. People call the office all the time as new patients, so just Cohn Health Institute. And I think that's the way most of the time.
Beautiful,
Yeah.
beautiful. Well, I know that people come from far and wide to see you, and it's very popular, and we have a whole wing here at the Cohn Health Institute, our naturopathic wing, for that, and it's very cool to see. So for everybody, I want to thank you for taking the time to be with us. Dr. Krakora, we appreciate you and taking the time out of your busy day. And we're going to get back to seeing some of these patients and some of the athletes that are coming in today. Heidi, thank you for your time, and you were great. And we'll see y'all soon. We're going to have coming back to you live real soon. Bye for now.
Bye.